right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Believe That podcast. I am your host, T. Reed. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We got a very special guest in the building. He's a father, he's a husband, he's a business owner, and he's the CEO and founder of a beautiful and brilliant nonprofit organization. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, put your hands together for Mark Cannon. All right, Mark, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you for taking some time out to be with us today. And we got a very exciting interview and series of questions, man, that we want to ask and that we want to know. So thank you, man. So first of all, man, I want to ask you, how are you doing, man? And I hope that all is well with you.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Tony. I'm in a good place right now. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
All right,
Been
man. Looking,
rough. Hey,
it's
yeah.
Hey, you're looking good, man. I really appreciate you for taking this time to do this, man. So let's jump right into this, Mark.
Okay.
Tell us about growing up in West Helena. You said that you grew up in West Helena. I think you said that's 150 miles south of Pine
Well,
Bluff, something like that.
I was east of Pine Bluff. Yeah.
East of Pine Bluff. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about that, man. Tell us about growing up in West Helena.
Well, wow. It's a small municipality of about Helena, West Helena combined at the time was maybe around 20 to 22,000 people. It's one of the most impoverished counties in the state of Arkansas. The demographics are just basically it's about 70. I'd say about 78% black, and the median income is around $27,000. Annual
Mm.
household of about four people. So pretty much about half of the residents there are living in poverty. So it was tough for me coming up in a single parent household. My mom had 11 children. I'm number seven of 11. And I recall when there was at least eight of us at home at one time. She struggled as a single parent, but for some reason she seemed to make ends meet. We never went without food or clothing, and we always had shelter. Now, I can't say that as far as the amenities like lights, gas, and water, and satellite TV or what have you. Sometimes those things were disconnected, but it was rough for us, very very rough, coming up in West Helena, without especially without a father figure.
Yeah. So Mark, I want to let me rewind that. Did you say that your mom has 7 or 11 children? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm number seven of 11.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how was it, man, being being in the house with 10 other siblings?
Whoa. Well, it was kind of helter skelter, man.
Yeah.
We didn't have much. We actually didn't realize we were poor until we became adults because for some reason, uh, Mama always she made it happen. She was the strongest black woman that I ever knew. I
Mm.
admired and respected her to the utmost. And now that I reflect on my childhood, I wonder how she made it happen. You have mothers today that struggle with two and three children, or even one child. My mom made it happen. She made do with whatever she had. She always made a way for us. She was a strong black queen, and she made it happen. Of course, there's always going to be sibling rivalry when you have a bunch of kids in the household. By the
Yeah.
time I come to realize what was going on, three of the older siblings, the eldest siblings, they were grown and out and on their own. I do realize that between my oldest brother and my youngest sibling, there's about I have to say it's probably about a 20-year gap. So the older three, by the time I came of age, they had moved on. They had their own lives going on. So still, there was eight of us at the house. It was three boys and five girls.
Mm. So growing up in that environment, growing up in West Helena in poverty, can you recall a specific moment or event that set you on the path to where you are today?
Well, Actually, I was about 16 years old.
Yeah.
I You want honesty, so I was about 16 years old. So I found a bag of marijuana. It was in a little manila packet, orange packet.
Hmm.
And so this guy who's known to sell drugs, I saw him and I told him what I had and I want to sell it. He took it from me. He said, "This is not what you want to do." He
Wow.
said, "Smart, you're intelligent, and you're going to be somebody one day, and you don't need to go this route." He said, "Give it to me." So I put it in his hand, and he said, "I want you to do something better than this. You're going to do better. You're going to do great things." And that right there gave me the spark that I always needed, because coming up without a father, I knew who he was, but he was not actively involved in my life. So to hear those words from a male figure, a black male, that told me that he had faith and trust in me and believed that I was going to do greater things, inspired me to get on the path to where I am today. He gave me hope. And that's something that I didn't have until he said those words to me.
So, Mark, was it a lot of drugs and those type of things going on in West Helena? People selling drugs, people doing drugs around you.
There was drugs, prostitution, murders, um, alcohol.
Yeah.
It was a lot of that, a lot of profanity. So we were exposed to a lot at a young age. I know I didn't understand fully why, but I just know how it made me feel, and I know I didn't like it. Um, and so because of that, we as siblings, we were neglected, materialistic as far as being able to have the things that we needed. We oftentimes went without, and sometimes we went without food because my mom got food stamps. She got assistance from the government, but she would trade her stamps, um, for alcohol and things like that. And therefore, when you're raising 8 children, and um, when you don't have the funds, you can't. When you don't have the monies to do what you need to do, then that means something or someone is going to be neglected. And unfortunately, it was us.
Mm, yeah. So, Mark, man, that's very unfortunate. That you guys had to go through such troubled times. Was there anybody in your life like a mentor, any positive role models in your life at that time that you may have looked up to, that put their arms around you and may have said, "Come on, son, I see something great in you. Things don't have to be this way for you. You can kind of change this." Was there anybody in your life like that?
One person, it was my eldest sister. Wow, she's like 12, 13 years older than me, and she's deceased now, but her name was Lois Steen. She believed in me. She would always encourage me to read, research, do my own personal studying, and to strengthen my vocabulary. She said, "You're smart, and I believe in you, but you have to believe in yourself." She said, "Life is not always going to be like this, and I want you to get your education." So my sister, unlike my mom, embraced me, and she wrapped her arms around me. And Lois she was my hero. I looked up to her. I mirrored her. I wanted to be smart like she was. Um, but my sister was kidnapped. Um, she was on her way to Walmart and made it onto the parking lot, and a guy had just robbed Walmart, and he needed a getaway car, and she was just pulling up, and he was coming out of the store running with the money and a gun, and he forced her back into her car, and he wow, he forced her down a gravel road. He made her drive a few miles, and he robbed her of her jewelry. He forced her in the backseat of the car. He raped my sister, and I didn't know she was raped. This all came out in the paper, but he raped her, and he began shooting her in her head. And he said he shot so many times because she wouldn't die. Uh, but that was a turning point in my life. First time I really had experienced losing someone that I was close to outside of my mom passing 2 years prior to. And then I lost a brother. We were close the year before. He was murdered 2 months after my mom passed away. So I lost two siblings and a mother within 2 years, two to homicide and my mom to cancer. So um, I wanted to make sure I lived my life in a way to bring honor and glory to them, especially my sister. And I wanted to magnify their name, her name rather, and I wanted to live my life in a way that she would be proud of me. And I think I've done that. I know I have, as a matter of fact. I know I've done just that. I didn't allow my past to be a crutch.
Mm. So, Mark, um, you said that your mom passed away from cancer, and I think you were about 18 when she passed away. So, was it your elder sister that stepped into that mother role and just kind of um, she was the mother of the family? Was it that sister that
Yeah,
was able to do that?
yeah, she was only able to do that for a couple of years because, like I said, she lost her life. My mom passed away 5 days prior to my birthday in October of 1990, which was she passed away October the 12th. And 60 days later, December the 12th, my brother was murdered. So I lost my mom and my brother within 2 months. He was shot 6 times. And it was devastating for all of us.
This happened in West Helena.
Yes.
Okay. So how long after that did you stay in West Helena?
Um, I moved away in 98. So
98.
6 years later, I was gone.
You had to get out of there.
Yes.
Now, what about your father? Where was he?
He
Was
passed
he
away. He
he had
passed
already passed away. Okay.
in 1984. He died when I was 12
When you
of
were
cancer.
12. So by the time you're 18, you without both of your parents. What kind of kid were you when you were growing up? Were you inquisitive? Were you what kind of kid were you growing up?
Well, I think like most children, very mischievous, but uh, my sister, like I said, had been molding me since about the age 13, 14. She would encourage me to read. I remember
Hmm.
one summer, I spent the entire summer in my room reading books, books on word power. I even read the encyclopedia. I was just read. My sister encouraged me to read. She said, "You have to and you must empower yourself. Knowledge is out there. The world is so large. You have to embrace this right now while you have an opportunity to and strengthen your mind. You can only do that by studying and doing your own personal research." um, I was one of those kids. I had a little girlfriend. I called myself like a little girl at the particular time, but I had to step up as a teenager to um, kind of help around the household. I worked jobs. I've been working since I was 10. Mr. Burrell gave me a job. I used to be like the janitor at his restaurant. I would come in after hours, mop, sweep, clean the countertops and clean the bathrooms and stuff, and he would pay me $40 a week, which was a lot of money to me back then. Um, and as I got older, I chopped cotton during the summer to provide for my my school clothes and to help my siblings buy things. Like I was saying, as far as my sister, she just taught me to emblazon and embolden myself by reading. And that's what I did because I had to step up. And even though I was chopping cotton, I was only making 17, I was working 12 and a half hours a day. And they paid me $17 an hour, $17 per day. I'm sorry. And so if you calculate that in a week, that's less than $100 a week. So I had to give my mom sometimes half of that to buy groceries to supplement her income, to supplement to buy food and things like that for the house. So The money didn't stretch that far.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was rough.
It was rough. So, Mark, I want to ask you this. Sometimes growing up without a parent or without both parents, we can be a little underdeveloped in some areas of our lives, right?
Yes.
Um, the things that you needed to understand manhood, the things that you needed to understand fatherhood, the things that you needed to be a better or to be a good or to great husband. Where did you learn it from? Because you said you lost your father earlier on. You lost your mother early. So there was a lot of things that you didn't see, a lot of things that you wasn't able to get because your parents left so soon. How did you develop as a man, as a father, and as a husband?
Wow. Um, I've always aspired to be better than my background. I've always aspired to do more. I wanted more because of my background, because of what I had gone through. I felt in my heart, I knew that there had to be something better, something greater than what I had already experienced. I got married prior to this marriage. I got married at 19. I met my then wife and we dated for about 5 weeks. Her parents were, I'm not gonna get into their religion, but they were very religious people, and they felt that if we're going to be dating, then you don't need to be fornicating. Y'all need to become a husband and wife. So a lot of my stuff was through trial and error. So we got married at 19, and I think she was 20. I was
Right.
19, 20 because I just had a birthday, and I just buried my brother 2 weeks before I married her. So unheard of, but her dad kind of took me under his wings, my ex-wife's father. He passed away last April. He was a great man, but he taught me a lot. He was a father figure that I never had. So I aspired to be like Mr. Joe so much because he was intelligent. The man had like a third, fourth grade education, but he was so smart. He could fix anything. He could do anything. He had he could build homes. He was a jack of all trades, and he was a great man. He was a very religious man, and he began studying the Bible with me, and we would have these Bible studies once per week. He brought me into a different realm. He brought me closer to God. He helped me to appreciate God for myself and develop my own personal relationship with God and his son, Jesus Christ. So because of him, he kind of stepped up. He did step up and step in and help make and mold me into the person that I am today.
Okay, so Mark, it sounds like just growing up in that environment in your home in West Helena, seeing all that you saw, going through all that you went through, you wanted to make sure that history didn't repeat itself.
I wanted to break generational curses.
Hmm.
And I can truly say, I recall one stint years ago, over 20 years ago, I made more money in 5 years than my mom made her entire life, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
More in 5 years than my mom made her entire life. I was just focused and determined not to fail. Failure was not even an option for me because I realized in life you only get one shot. So I said, I'm going to go all out. I wanted more for myself. I wanted better for myself and for my family. And I was focused. I was determined to make a better life for myself and my family because of my background, because of what I've gone through, because of what I've seen, and because of what I've experienced. I wanted more, and I was willing to work from sun up to sundown to ensure that we had it. Because I know what it feels like to be part of the have-nots. I'm still a part of the have-nots today. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to move money around to pay this bill and have to put this other bill on the back burner. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to go to bed hungry. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like when you got 3 bills due, but you only have enough money for 1.5 bills, meaning I can pay this bill over here, This bill is $50. The second bill is 50. The third bill is 75. I've got 25, so I can pay this other half. And so I need to try and make arrangements to pay the remaining balance and then try to get a rain check on the third bill. I know what that feels like. I know it, and it hurts. And it's not a good feeling.
Right. So Mark, you're a great example of not being a victim of your environment. There is
No,
a way out. So what does that start with? Does that start with a mindset? Did you see something like, hey, I want that. I want to be able to live this way. I want to be able to drive that. I want to be able to live in this type of residential area. What did you see? Because you could have easily fell product to that environment. You could have replicated everything that you saw growing up, but you chose to go down a different path. You chose to go down a better path. What happened? What was the defining moment that made you say, okay, I want better and I'm going to do better?
when I came to know Jehovah God for myself,
Yeah.
God, my father-in-law, my ex-father-in-law, helped me to understand that. And I saw him. It was almost like it was my ex-wife. Her parents were together up until he passed away. They had been married for 52 years. That's a
Mhm.
long time.
Yeah.
And so when you meet someone that has a father that's in the same household, the mom is in the same household, and neither one of them are alcoholics. They don't fight. They're not screaming and cursing at each other. The lights are on. They've got running water. They've got automobiles. They're buying their own home. They own their own home. They have property. It was like almost like something out of a movie. You
Right.
know, the man could build anything. He could fix anything. I'm like, wow, I want this to be me. There is hope. Despite my background, despite coming from Section 8 hood or housing, and I'm not knocking Section 8 by any means, but you have to want better. And then I realized you have to surround yourself with people that look like you, that's aspiring to do the same things that you're doing. In other words, if you ever wanted to become or be a millionaire, you can't hang around someone who's unemployed. You can't hang around someone who's never been a millionaire because they don't know what it feels like because they can't lead you in that direction. So I align myself with people who are doing positive things. Iron sharpens irons. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So
that's
if you're
right.
doing something positive, instead of my having a jealous streak, no, put me on, show me. I will be quiet. I will remain silent while you teach me. You show me the way. You lead,
Mm,
I will follow. And that's what I did. My ex father in law taught me the value of having good credit. With good credit, you can get anything you want. Credit is better than gold, credit is better than money. These people who are buying 100,000, 200, $400,000 homes or buying these whatever, $2 million rings or what have you, they're not paying cash. These are everyday Johns like me and you. They're not paying cash. Good credit means I don't have the monies now, but if you give me a payment plan, you can rest assured that you will get your money in installments plus interest. That's that's how financial institution. That's the whole world. That's how the world is made up of bartering and trading. And credit means you don't have all the money now, but if you give me an opportunity to pay you in installments with interest, you'll get all your money, every last dime. And that's something that he instilled in me, that credit is better than money.
mm,
And I carry that. I have a credit card. It's in my wallet. It looks like a regular Discover card. I got the card in 2000, 2001. I've had that card for 23 years. And when I started off, I applied for the card. My credit limit was $1,000. It was $1,000. But today, 23 years later, I have the same credit card. It's valued at $30,000.
mm.
Most people cannot boast that they have a
Wow.
credit card for $30,000, not to mention the same credit card they've had in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Now I'm in my 50s.
Wow.
I got the same credit card. If I
Mm.
subtract 23 years off my age, that puts me at 29. I've had the same credit card since I was in my late 20s. I'm now 52, and that credit card is now valued at $30,000. So he
Mm.
taught me, be
Wow.
a man of your word. If you owe, pay. If you don't have the money, you make payment arrangements, but you be a man of your word and you follow through, and that will carry you. And that has catapulted me from this pivot to the next pivot.
So it sounds like, Mark, you were able, you knew what you did not want. You know the
Right.
lifestyle you did not want to live, but you had to submit yourself to someone so that you can learn. You had to be open, you had to be teachable, you had to be coachable. Is that a challenge for some of our young guys and young ladies that's grown up today, just not willing to submit themselves to someone to allow them to take them under their wings and teach them and educate them? Is that a challenge that we see with
Of
some of
course,
our young men and women today?
because when you don't know, you cannot grow. And
Yeah.
in order to grow, one must know. One must take a back seat. One must be quiet, listen, and learn. And that's why old folks have always said, you speak once, but you listen twice.
Mm.
So I'm what you consider, I'm a watcher. I watch and I observe. And that's how I place myself and my current family in the position that we're in today. Because I'm a watcher. I learn. Now don't get me wrong, I am a talker, but I listen more than I talk and I observe. So, like I was saying, that you know, you have to become a watcher. You have to take a back seat sometimes. But our young people today, no one wants to feel like someone is leading them. They want to rely on each other. But here's the thing: when you rely on someone, that's like, let me give you an example. Have you ever driven to California, Tony?
I have not.
Neither have I. Um, if you were to travel by automobile, wouldn't it not be wise to use a GPS system or a
It would be
map?
very, it would be very, very wise.
So, would you listen to someone who's been to California more than 50 times by way of a car? Or would you listen to someone who's never driven a car trying to tell you how to get to California?
I would listen to someone who's been there.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
experience is the best teacher. Well, in today's society, our young people lack leadership, they lack discipline, and they don't like to listen. I mean, it's a farce. It's a far cry from what we've experienced coming up as kids. It takes a village, and right now you have so many young people who are so out of touch and out of tune with life and reality that they've not been shown love and compassion. No one has embraced them. No one has wrapped their arms around them. No one has reached back and said, "Hey, let me help him or let me help her. Let me show him or her the way in which they need to go." That's what's lacking in our community. Therefore, it starts at home. I'm a firm believer that everything starts at home. It starts at home. If you're not getting the proper nourishment at home, the streets is going to give it to you, but not exactly what you need.
Absolutely. Mark, I really like your thought process on just not becoming a victim of our environments. And although there might be some things that we're missing in the home growing up, there is a way to get what we need. We just have to be willing to be teachable, to be coachable. We have to be willing to submit ourselves to experience and wisdom. To someone who's been there and done that. And like you said, we have to around surround ourselves with the people who's been where we're trying to go and that can help us get there, right?
Amen. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's very important. Mark, I want to shift gears here. I want to ask you this. What are some things that outside of your profession that you enjoy doing?
Oh gosh. Uh, well, it may seem kind of corny. I love fishing.
Yeah.
Love fishing because of the tranquility, the calmness, just nature itself. I love spending time with my dog. I have a Chihuahua. Her name's Molly.
Yeah.
Um, I love reading. Tony, I read daily. This may seem weird. I read something every single day. And if I come across a word that I'm not familiar with, I look it up. I try and use it in a sentence, and I incorporate that in my daily use, my daily talk. And another thing I enjoy doing, I love working on my old schools. I've got 2 or 3 old school vehicles, trucks and cars. I love spending time um, doing it, and I like playing video games. Believe it or not, it's like an escape out of reality. I play
That's
on my phone more so than I do my television because I don't have time to sit around at the house because the life that I'm living now is so helter skelter that, as you see, my phone rings constantly. I've got almost 2,000 text messages on my phone right now. I've got over 3,000 messages through Messenger. I've got over 29,000 emails. Uh, I've got over 200 missed phone calls in the last 48 hours. So I'm constantly being pulled in so many directions. So when I find that time, I'll just turn my phone off. I work 6 days a week, and I will just go to the park, to the lake, and I'll just sit. Even if I'm not fishing, I'll just sit and I just meditate. And in that process, I do something that most people don't do. I'm not gonna say all people. I thank God because I know my background. I know where I came from, and I know where I could be. I know where I should have been. I should have been on drugs, in prison, or either dead, or in a wheelchair or a convalescent center. But I chose a different path. People say, when you come to the fork in the road, you either go left or you go right. Well, I went straight. I went straight. I knew what I wanted. I knew that there had to be something more in life, and I was focused and determined to get to that next plateau. I
mm,
will not stop. I will not quit. Um, Success has been my only focus, and I said, whatever I do, whatever I set my hands to, I'm definitely going to go all out. As an old man told me, you work from can to can't. I said, huh? I said, what is that? He said, you work all you can until you can't. And then you sit back and you enjoy the fruits of your labor.
mm.
I'm gonna say what kind of car. Most people know I bought a Corvette. I work a lot. And so I do realize you can't take anything with you. So I may as well enjoy the fruits of my labor while the fruit is ripe. No one wants to eat spoiled fruit, right?
That's
You eat it
right.
while it's ripe and fresh, glistening and clean. And that's what I've done. And so I work, but I also play. I have one day off per week and I make the best of it. But typically when I'm off that day, I'm helping people like I'm about to do as soon as we finish this podcast. I've got to go because my phone's ringing for a reason. So I'm constantly, and here's the thing. I'm as humble as a slice of pie, but more importantly, I want people to know that I'm just a servant.
Yeah.
I'm a servant. I'm a slave, but I'm a slave for God, and I don't mind slaving for Him because my overall prize is not here. If that makes sense, it's not
Mm.
here. My reward is something greater, and I don't do things for the glory of man. I do it to glorify God. So my glory comes from above. As long as I get it, I do that for Him. Everything else is going to fall in place, and God will bless your hands when He sees your efforts. But most importantly, God is able to do something that man cannot do. And I'm not talking about the literal heart. God can look at your heart figuratively, and He knows the disposition. So as long as I'm doing what I do for Him, I'm good.
That's right. That's right. So, Mark, what would you say the most valuable lesson that you've learned in life thus far?
Well, one thing I'll say personally for me is to never take life or people for granted. I've lost a lot of people that I love and care about dearly. I'm not going to speak on too much because I get emotional because I miss them so much. And it's so important as well as imperative to let people know how you feel about them. You give them their flowers while they're alive. Um, Make time for those. Sometimes it may cause for sacrifice, and sometimes you may have to get off work early. You may have to tell the boss no, turn that phone off. Love people while the time and season is favorable for it, because we don't know the day nor the hour. And so, for me, showing love and being kind to people is so important. It doesn't cost anything to be nice to people. If you know that someone is in need, they shouldn't have to ask you. Just act on it. Just act, just do it. You don't have to do it with cameras. You do it. You do it from your heart. God sees and knows everything. So if it's genuine, it'll be received as genuine. You don't need a big fanfare or a spotlight or a camera, but just work good toward people while the time is favorable for it. Give people their flowers while they're here. Love those that love you back, and just be kind. Just be nice. Let go of the anger, the hostility, the frustration, because a good friend of mine called me this morning. His daughter lost her life Saturday, 28 years old. Unfortunately, she had an accident. She had been drinking on 5:30 on the way back to Pine Bluff, lost control, hit a tree. The car exploded. She died. This was Saturday, just 3 days ago. So, and she's only 28, a kid. So we don't know when our time is coming or our day is up. But do good while you're here so you leave a legacy when you're gone. We're actually building our legacy while we're here. What
Mm.
people say about you. So that's so important to just love. Have less hate and more love. Just treat others the way in which you would want to be treated.
Mark, that actually segues into what I wanted to ask you next. We're talking about legacy. When people hear the name Mark Cannon, what will they say? What will they think when they hear your name? What is your legacy?
Loving, kind, huge heart, will go out of his way for anyone, especially children and women. He cared, um, compassionate, empathetic, sympathetic, always willing to help, no matter what your background, no matter what your status. None of that mattered to him. People will even say color never mattered. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say when I see people, I don't see color because either I'm blind or colorblind. I do see color, but how I treat you is not predicated based on your pigmentation, but the content of your character, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't care about a person's color. I care about the person. No matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, I don't care. None of that matters to me. You're a human being. We're
Mm.
all created in God's image. So it boils down to treating people the way you want to be treated. So may my tombstone reads, he was one of the realest. He told you how he felt. He didn't sugarcoat it. He spoke the truth, whether you liked it or not. He was always fair, firm, and consistent.
Mm. Wow. That's powerful, Mark. So, Mark, you're a business owner and you've been in business for yourself for I believe it's over 20 years
23
and
years, 24 years, June 3rd.
24 years. Technology is really advanced. How has technology, the evolution of technology, advanced your business in 24 years?
Well, I'm able to reach more people by way of social media sites. I can advertise now without having to pay someone to advertise for me. That's what those sites are for. Um, it allows me to put my business out there, not just locally on a smaller scale, but worldwide. We have the internet now. You have the internet, you got Wi-Fi. It allows me, and it's really helped me because I was spending anywhere between 120 to 150 bucks a month on movies, buying CDs, movies uh, to play at my store. So now I just spend $8.99 a month and I can stream all those movies for free.
Wow.
Any movies, you know what I mean? Went from paying, I think a movie would cost 20 bucks, 22 bucks when they first come out. Like The Lion King, even to this day on a CD, it's like $27. Well, I get to watch that movie now for $8.99 as many times as I like.
Hmm.
So it's kept that. Customers come in, they can sit down and they can access the internet, allow their children to play, and they can get their work done on their computers. And it doesn't cost anything for them to use my Wi-Fi
Wow.
as well as advertising.
Wow.
We can
That's the
stream
power
movies.
of technology.
Yes.
It's
So
been a blessing to you. It's been a blessing to you. Mark, what are some of the challenges, some of the main challenges in the industry that you're in, and how are you and other businesses, and maybe you can't speak for other businesses, but how are you able to navigate through some of the challenges in today's time in your industry and what you do?
Well, there's another company that comes to the mall 2, 3 times a month. And guess what? They sell popcorn. Well, of
Mm,
course, the name of my business is Popcorn and More. They got more flavors than I do, bigger bags than I do. And the size, well, their size that they sell for $10, I sell the same thing for $6. But they've got more flavors, they got more variety. But you know what I've predicated my business on, Tony?
what's that?
Here's the thing. I give an example. I used to work for Altel. It used to be Altel, then Southwestern Bell bought them out, then changed to AT&T or what have you. Here's what I would tell my customers. Um, I work for Altel, then there's Southwestern Bell, then there's Singular Wireless, and there's Sprint and Metro PCS. You got all these different wireless companies out here. But when I was in the wireless industry, they would ask me, well, what's the difference between what you sell and what they sell? I said, well, the difference in my company as opposed to the other company that's offering you a $5 lower rate is one major thing. Well, what's that? I want to hear this. They don't have me.
Hmm.
What? I avail myself to you. I'm going to explain the plan to you. I'm going to sell you what you need, not what I want you to have. And guess what? Anytime you need me, I'm accessible. You can call me. I can fix the problem. I'll fix the problem. I'll rectify the situation. Southwestern Bell doesn't have a Mark Cannon, but Altel does. And it's the same way in the business that I'm in. A lot of people have opened up businesses to try and sell popcorn. They fail miserably. Main reason why? Lack of customer service. Doesn't matter if you're spending $10 with me or 50 cents with me. I'm going to smile. I'm going to ask you how you're doing. If you have your small ones with you, your grandbabies or your children, I'm going to speak to them. I'm going to give them candy. I've got a play area that's accessible to them for free. As long as they're in there with them, they can play. But when you go, they got to go too, because I'm not a daycare. But I treat people the way that I want to be treated. I get on their level. It doesn't matter
Mm.
if they're it doesn't matter if they're poor. It doesn't matter if they're homeless. I'm going to treat them the same. And I'm going to cater to them as if they're spending $1 million with me.
Mm. So customer service, that's a big thing, man.
Number one.
That's number one to you.
It's number one.
That's number one to you.
Because I want to say this, Tony. What people don't understand, for those who want to embark upon a self-employment, people have options. They don't have to spend their money with you if they choose. It's their money. It's
Hmm.
their money. Let me give an example. You like hamburgers, Tony?
I do.
Okay. You got Dairy Queen. You got Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, Whataburger, Sonic, Chick-fil-A. You got so many different fast foods, so many different food chains. But if you choose to have a Rally's burger, you go to Rally's because of the taste. If you want a Big Mac, you go to McDonald's. If you want a Whopper, you go to Burger King, and so forth and so forth. So when you're a small business, you're not like a franchisee.
Right.
You treat your customers right because you want them to come back. Repeat residual. You want them to come back. You want their experience to be the best.
That's
You
right.
may not have a McDonald's, you may not have a Burger King, but do you know when the kids come to my store, you would think they were at Disney World, all the yelling and screaming and the fun that they have. I promise you, wow.
Right.
And people tell me, man, this was a great idea. I don't know how you thought of this. What they don't realize is that I've been poor before, and I know
Mm.
what it's like to be part of the have-nots. So I'm gonna give them the best experience possible. I'm gonna speak to them. I'm gonna greet them. I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna cater to their every whimsical because I want them to come back. I want them to bring their children. And guess what? I've had people to come to my store when they were teenagers. Now they're grandparents. So the teenagers are now parents, and the parents are now grandparents.
That's amazing.
So I've had 3 generations to come to me.
Yeah.
Since in that 24 years, if they were coming to me when they were 16, guess what? You add 20 years to or 24 years to 16, they're now 40. They're now a parent. Now their 20-year-old or 18-year-old is now a parent. So now they are grandparents. So they bring that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 year old to me to play
Wow.
in my business. So that's 3 generations that I'm able to
Mm.
serve. And it speaks volumes when they come to me and say, hey, white and black, do you remember me? Yes, ma'am. Well, this is my daughter. Do you remember you used to give her candy? Yes, ma'am. She used to cry. I said, is this the one who used to cry all the time? Mom, you're embarrassing me. Yes, this is her. Well, now she's 16. Well, how are you doing? Well, how are you? I just want to tell you thank you because you always made us feel like we were at home. And these are white people. I said, well, you're
Right.
welcome, ma'am. You have not changed, and please don't ever change. I said, well, I don't know any other way to be other than who I am. I don't try to be anybody else because it's so easy being myself. So
So the effects of that personal touch of customer service, man, that's powerful.
treat people the way you want to be treated, bro. That's
That's
it.
right. Mark, I want to ask you this. Every business or organization has to have a culture. How do you create a culture that reflects not only your business and its vision, but you and your core values for the company? How do
Gotta
you
have
create that?
have to have rules and standards.
Yeah.
My first and foremost, I run a clean business.
Mhm.
Clean. I'm constantly wiping down, sanitizing, sweeping, mopping, using a vacuum. I'm constantly cleaning because I'm a clean person. And I feel
Yes.
if you're going to spend your money, the environment that you're in needs to be wholesome and it also needs to be clean. So I do that as well. I don't allow cursing,
Yeah.
yelling and screaming, aside from the babies yelling and screaming because they're having the time of their lives, yelling and screaming. I don't want that in my store. Cursing, profanity. You're going to respect these women. You're going to respect these young ladies. Walking into my store with your pants pulled down, sagging. You need to pull your pants up if you expect to be serviced by me. I don't want to look at your underwear, and nor should these ladies be subjected to looking at your underwear.
Mm.
Tone. It's my business. When people come to me, they feel safe, they feel secure. When I tell you, when I name out the ethnic groups, Indians, Hispanics, whites, blacks, African, Polish, Swedish, Canadian, people from all over the world come to my store and the experience is the same. I treat them as if they were my brother or my sister. Thank you, brother. Have a nice day. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. How are you doing? This your baby? No, this is my grand. Are you serious? This is not your baby? No, it's my grandbaby. Wow, ma'am, you don't look a day over 30. You got to be kidding me. Young man, I'm 65. Get out of here. No, I wouldn't like. Want to see my driver's license? No, mom. I believe no more like grandmother. Okay, fine.
Mm.
And I'm always smiling. I mean, it's for me, it's natural, it's easy because I know what it feels like. I just treat the people the way I want to be treated. Customer
Yeah.
service is number one. My business, the longevity of it is based on treating people right. It's
Yeah.
predicated on treating people right. And
Yeah.
I've been good at it.
Yeah. So, Mark, creating this culture within a business, within an organization, it's important that even when we bring in employees, when we bring in people that's going to work for us, it's important that they understand that we have a culture, that we have values, that we have standards. And it's a business can go in a direction that it doesn't want to go when you get people in there that does not value that culture
Or have your vision.
or have your vision. And I think that businesses can be a lot more successful when they have people in there that actually care about your vision, when they actually care about the culture and what you're trying to accomplish.
Correct. That's why you have to set the tone before you bring them in. Make sure there's a thorough understanding of what you expect and what you anticipate from them.
Hmm.
So if they veer off from that, that's when you pull them aside and you reel them back in and say, hey, you're going in this direction over here. You need to turn around and go back this way because this is not the vision. This is not what I want.
Absolutely. And it's okay to part ways with people that can't get in line with the vision.
It's your dream, it's your vision. If not, they will turn your dream into a nightmare.
Mm.
It's
Wow.
your money. It's your money. If you don't correct them, then that means you don't mind losing money. Your dream will become an American nightmare
Wow.
that you can't wake up from.
Mm. That's
Remember,
powerful.
I told you earlier, success is it's my only focus. And if
Hmm.
you're not part of the solution, you're gonna be part of the problem. So guess what? I'm gonna handle that issue and get rid of the problem because
Right.
it's something I don't have to deal with.
Right. So, Mark, we're going to get you out of here soon, but I want to ask you this. You have a nonprofit organization, The Voice for Justice.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Voice for Justice is a nonprofit organization. It caters to not just children and women, but anyone that's had any type of encounters of injustice, be it the police, sheriff department, a slumlord, a landlord, mistreatment of children in a daycare or school or facility. It doesn't matter what it is, but we cater to that. And if there's an injustice, and most people feel like they don't have a voice or they're not being heard, then that's where I come in at. I more or less play a mediator. I will go to the source with the information that I've been disclosed with and try and get their perspective. Now, they will either say yes or no. If not, if they say no, then I've got to proceed without them. But I try and get both sides to be fair, both sides of the spectrum, so I'll know this person's side and this other individual side. And then I'll kind of feel through the information and kind of put it together, and I can determine who's being truthful and who's lying to me. I've been doing this a long time, so I'm able to differentiate the lie from the truth. Some people are good, but they're not that good. But if you ask certain questions, I ask leading questions. I ask these questions because I'm searching for an answer. I already have the answer in the deep recessions of my mind, but I'm looking to see if the person is going to be honest with me about their response. So, Voice for Justice is a nonprofit, and it does a lot of good. I give back to the community. I've done so far as helping people with rent, hotel rooms. People have been displaced due to fires or loss of job, um, food, shoes, clothing, shelter, phone bills, you name it. I can pretty much claim it. So that's what Voice for Justice is all about. Giving people a voice who feel like their voice otherwise wouldn't be heard.
Right. And guys, let me tell you, I've done business with Mark, been doing business with Mark for a very long time. And there's been several occasions where he's been giving back to the community. I've seen it with my own eyes. He doesn't do anything for show, from what I've seen, and he really want to be a blessing to people. Mark, I want to ask you this: why do you feel as though people feel that they don't have a voice? Why do you feel that some people feel that they can't be heard? Why is that?
Well, because there are those who aren't able to articulate or put into words what they really want to say
Mm,
because um, then they may have a speech impediment and or they may not be able to articulate specifically what they want to say. And sometimes when people get nervous, they stammer, they stumble over their words, or they begin to mumble, and they're just not able to convey their thoughts. Maybe perhaps if they put it on paper, they could, but just overall, they don't have the ability to articulate how they feel and what needs to be said. And so that's where I come in at. I'm not the greatest speaker in the world, but I'm not the worst, but I can convey their thoughts. If they let me know I get to the gist, the core of what's going on, then I can get to the issue.
Mark, I heard you say that you didn't choose this, that this chose you, the voice for justice, that it chose you. Why do you think you were chosen for this? What is it in you that makes you feel that you were chosen for this?
Grit. Um, my wife asked me the same question. She said, "Why did you choose this? It's a dangerous occupation. Why did you choose this?" And I thought for a second. And I said, I didn't choose it. It chose me. I've ran from it for a long time. I have a voice. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and to stand up for what's right. Through the annals of history, our forefathers, our ancestors stood for us, for civil rights, equality, civil rights, just equal equality and civil rights. Why not me? Um, I'm not afraid because God does not walk with me. I tell people that and they look at me like I'm crazy. What you mean God doesn't walk with you? It's like that portrait of the footsteps in the sand. There's only
Mm.
one set of footprints. God does not walk with me, Tony. He carries me. And
Wow.
so he's with me, and when he's with me, and I'm not trying to get too spiritual on you, but when God is with you, who can be against you? What's for me is for me. But he's commissioned me. I've been commissioned by the man above to do this work. And I do it without fear. I do it without let up. I'm consistent, and I have to do it.
Mm.
I've tried to be quiet, but my heart won't allow me. Let me say this, something that I coined. People want to know why and how I'm able to do what I do. Let me look you directly in your eyes and say this to you. The fire inside me burns much hotter than the fire around me.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Mm.
So it's like an implosion on the inside that's trying to come out. I'm not concerned about what's burning on the outside, but what's burning on the inside. And the fear is that what's on the inside dies while I'm still alive within me. No, it has to come out.
Wow. Wow. Man, let's clap it up for Mark, man. Woo! Mark, that's powerful, man. Listen, I want to ask you this. You said that you have thousands of emails and hundreds of phone calls and text messages. How are you able to balance it all with the nonprofit organization, put that to the side, and be the best father, husband, and everything else that you do? How are you able to just kind of put that off to the side, man? How are you able to balance all of that? Because you
Well,
have people making withdrawals all the time. Mark, can you do this? Mark, can you look into that? Will you? Will you? Will you? Will you? It's like, do people come to you before they go to God sometimes, or do you feel that God
yeah,
sends God sends people to you? I mean, it's always withdrawals, man. I mean, do you ever feel depleted? Do you ever feel empty and you need people to pour into you? I mean, how do you balance it all?
that's true, Tony. I feel, some people are energy vampires. I mean, they just drain you of all
Yeah,
they do. And
yeah,
so, and what I do to replenish, I turn everything off,
yeah.
and I'll make that time with the ones that I love and those that care about me the most. I make that time with my wife. I have to, because it was a real major issue for us between us because I put more into Voice for Justice than I did my family, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yes, sir.
And I wasn't balanced, so I was winning on this side. I was winning on this side, but I was losing on this side. But like I said, I was having to get that balance because I was winning on this side, but I was losing on this side over here. So I've learned to just turn the phone off. You have to turn the phone off. I'll scroll through messages or what have you, and I'll pray about certain situations as to whether or not I should tackle them. Of course, not everybody's going to be happy with the decisions that I make, but it's a personal discernment. It's something that's between me and my God. So I have to be careful about the subjects that I touch or the how can I put this the cases that I decide to undertake, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Not that I'm afraid, it's just that things can get real murky because whenever there's a loss of life, family members are always, and I mean always, going to paint the perfect picture of their loved one, despite their flaws and shortcomings. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So when I start seeing those discrepancies, I'm like, okay, this is not what they told me, but I'm finding A, B, C, X, Y, Z. So I'm very cautious about the cases that I undertake. I have to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Mark, I heard you say this um, in a conversation that we were in not too long ago, that some cases that you take when it involves women and children, you said to me that you are highly affected when it involves women and children. Not that when it's guys involved or males, but it you're highly affected by a case that involves women and children. Why is this? Why does that affect you so much when it comes to women and children?
Well, the reason why cases that involve children as well as women affect me so much is because um, having six sisters and a mother, obviously, I saw, I realized all of my siblings, my sisters rather, were physically abused in abusive relationships. I saw my mom get abused. As a child, I was abused. So I get it on both spectrums. Seeing my siblings and my mom abused by men, and then to be abused as a little boy myself, you know, there was no one to, I didn't have a voice. No one was there to protect me and speak on my behalf. And so now that I'm an adult and I'm a man, I have to be that voice for those children as well as those women, get them to a place of sanctity and a safe haven. That's why it affects me so deeply, because it's like I'm reliving my past all over again. And we're talking about 30, 40 years later, and it's still happening to this very, very day. That's why it touches me so deeply.
Wow. So your sisters and your mother, they went through so much, and you had to see it all. So it just you automatically go into this protective mode, right?
Yeah, yes.
Mm. So Mark, I want to ask you this from our talk today. What would you like to say to people that are listening? What would be something that you want them to take away from this interview?
Well, just know that with me, what you see is what you get. Uh, there's no fake and phoniness about me. I'm genuine. I'm sincere. I love and I love hard. I love all mankind. I just want everyone to pay it forward. Love while love while the time is favorable for it. We don't know how much time we have left here on this earth, but while we're here, I feel that we all should be doing our utmost to work good toward others, because you're seeking a higher reward. It's nothing that man can give you, but it's something that God will give you, and you always have a place in His remembrance book, His book, the book of life. So while we're here, let's just work good toward each other. Let's have more love and let's come together as a people of unity, and let's work in a unified core and to do good. Let's love our loved ones. Let's show more love toward each other, males and females alike. Let's love each other. It doesn't cost anything it doesn't cost anything to love people. Just be you, be genuine, and let's help each other. Always pay it forward. Don't ask what someone can do for you, but ask yourself, what can you do for the next individual? What can you bring into his or her life to make his or her life just a little bit easier? I think that should be your focal point. You focus on that and you stay focused on God and allow His word to be a lamp to your footstep. He's going to guide you. You can always look toward the sun. And I'm not talking about the SUN, I'm talking about the SON. He always made the path straight.
It's here for Mark again, man. Mark, I really want to appreciate you for joining the show today, the Believe That podcast. This platform is designed to help inspire, motivate, and encourage people to be the best version of themselves. And all they have to do is start with believing. So I really appreciate you sharing your truth.
Yes,
I
sir.
know we probably could talk another hour, but I do understand that you have to go. And
Yeah.
we want to get you back on the show at a later time. And
Okay.
I'm sure we'll set something up. But man, I really appreciate you. But before you go, Mark, there's one more thing we have to do.
Yes, sir.
With all of our guests, we always play this game entitled I Know That. And you said that your favorite movie was Scarface.
Oh,
So Mark, what we're going to do, we're going to play a game. We're going to see how much you know about Scarface, and you can't Google it. So,
oh God.
we're going to do that real quick. Mark, you're going to be on the timer. You're going to have 12 seconds to answer every question. You got about 3 or 4 questions, real
Okay.
simple. You're going to have about 12 seconds to answer every question. If the answer is right, you'll hear this. And if the answer is wrong, you'll hear this sound. Okay. So you have 12 seconds, Mark. Are you ready?
Go.
Okay, Mark. Here we go, man. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So we're going to put you on the timer. You got 12 seconds to answer every question. Here we go.
Okay.
Mark, what year did the movie Scarface hit the movie theaters?
1982.
What was that answer?
1982.
1982?
Yes.
All right, Mark, let's see if you got that right.
I thought it was 82. Can you tell me the year? I thought it was 82.
1983, Mark.
Wow.
1983.
Okay.
You were close, though. You were
Uh.
close. That's good. All right, so here we go again. Next question, Mark. Tony Montana is played by who?
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino is correct. Very good, Mark. All right, here's the next question. There was a saying on Scarface by Tony Montana himself, and he said this phrase right here, and you have to complete the phrase. Every dog has his what?
Day.
What's that, Mark?
Day.
Day. That is correct. Okay, Mark. All right, last question, Mark. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so Tony Montana, played by Al Pacino. What insect did Tony refer to when people annoyed him?
Cockroach. Cockroach.
Okay. Mark said the answer is cockroach, and that is correct. Let's give it up for Mark.
Oh God. Okay.
Mark, you did good. You got 3 out of 4, man. You know your
35.
movie, man.
Welcome, brother.
You
Man,
know your movie.
I've never had so many phone calls in an hour, and man, oh my God.
No, you're fine, Mark. Hey, listen,
I'm
man.
sorry.
Once
Yeah.
again, man, we really appreciate your time, man. Let us know where people can find you, your social media platforms, real quick.
It's on my name, Mark Cannon, on Facebook, Voice for Justice, and on the Facebook page is Voice for Justice. The 4 is FORE. A lot of people thought or think that, hey, he misspelled 4. No, Voice for FORE is something that golfers say when they swing forward, meaning thrusting forward.
Mm-hmm.
So voice thrusting forward to justice.
Wow. Okay.
Voice for justice. And I can also be found on Instagram under Canon 1017. That's my last name and my date of birth. So Canon 1017, and then also on Instagram, Mark Cannon. I think it's 01 or something. Mark Cannon 01, and then you can find me on Twitter or X as Mark Cannon.
Oh, okay. Wow. Hey, well, Mark, thanks again, man, for doing the
You're welcome,
show.
Tom.
You have a blessed day, man. Thank you. You guys be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, later.
All right. Do you all believe that? Let's get out of here.